welcome back for another amazing episode of the Third Shield Pokemon Go PvP podcast. Guys, today I have an amazing guest, and this guest is amazing because he's very technical. And therefore, his name is actually ThoTechtical, and I probably said it wrong because I always do. But
You said it perfectly, actually.
I did. All right.
Yeah, good
That's the
job.
first. That's the first. Well, ThoTechtical, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, second time. Always a pleasure to be here. So appreciate it.
So the reason why I wanted to have you back, and guys, the reason why I want to have him back is because I figured who would be the best person to talk to about some amazing technical stuff of Pokemon Go than Toad Tactical himself. I mean, his name actually has in the name it says technical basically. So that's why I was like, all right, he has to be here. So today I really want to break down some of the mechanics of the Go Battle League and how you could actually benefit from fast move denials or how to sneak in some extra energy and how to actually count moves. And that is why I want to have you here. So thank you for joining again today.
Yeah, no problem. I think one of my favorite areas of the game is exploiting these little mechanics to gain an advantage. That's always been my favorite part. So I pride myself on knowing some of the little details. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun episode, I feel like.
Perfect. I'm so excited. And before we even get started, how's your season going so far?
Yeah, my season has been going pretty good, pretty good. I've already hit legend a week and a half ago, and now I'm just trying out a bunch of spies, and it's actually been going really well. I hit my new highest rating of 3175 today, with running a Magnezone in Remix Cup, and that was really fun. But at that point, the queue times start getting way lower. So tomorrow I'll probably get some O5s on purpose so that I tank a bit again. Otherwise, I can't really stream with half an hour queue times, unfortunately.
Yeah, those are rough. I mean, to getting in a half an hour one battle, oh my god, I can only imagine. That's the reason why I keep myself in lower elo.
Of course. I mean, we all know you're the real number one player in the world, right? I mean, Shadow Z is at least. So I get it.
I did learn a lot, by the way, from you, watching you, and then your videos. By the way, you're on YouTube now, and actually you're growing very quickly on YouTube. So guys, if you actually not watching it yet, make sure to sub. We're gonna link it in below because you actually explain lots of things.
Appreciate that, man. I check out your content a lot as well, and I can see your improvement a lot. Like if you look at your videos from like 6 months ago and now, there is definitely a big improvement in gameplay, which is just great to see.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, 6 months ago I was throwing focus blasts into Mewtwo's.
Typings are hard. Typings are hard.
So speaking of typings and the Remix Cup, so you said you're in Remix Cup and you're doing well. Let's just talk about Remix Cup just for a second. What do you think? What was like the main meta, and what made you pick Magnezone to pursue that Remix Cup with?
There are just a lot of steel types, a lot of charmers, and a lot of fighting types mainly. Those are the core three. It's like an RPS trio that is. Steel beats charm, charm beats fighting, fighting beats steel. And Magnezone, of course, loses hard first to fighting, but if you can get a wild charge on a Metachamp, that still does 60%. Magnezone can beat Registeel quite convincingly if you get the baits, or if you get a little bit of energy. And Bastiodon as well is quite close. And of course, it just destroys the charmers. Besides that, Magnezone also beats Jellicent, which you see quite often. Pelipper. What else? Like I had a wild charge on Escavalier today, and it just died. That was quite cool. Altaria can also beat Altaria, so it just is very nice coverage in the meta. And personally, I combined it today with Sableye and Mew to cover for the fighting weakness, and that team really worked out amazingly for me.
That sounds a really good team. So before we actually get into the details, how do you usually go about building a team like that? Because obviously you didn't watch your video and somebody featured this and then you copied it like some people, which is nothing wrong with that, guys, by the way. Well, I'm just trying to get into your mindset that how you actually build these teams and then bring them to action.
Usually I have one Pokemon that I'm like, yeah, this one might have some play against the meta. Usually it's like a niche Pokemon like Magnezone, or earlier this week I also put out a video on Gliscor, which I thought would work in the remix meta. And I built around its weaknesses. And usually I don't take a very robust approach to team building. I just throw some stuff together where I'm like, yeah, this is decent, this seems decent, and then I play it. And if it doesn't work, I might switch some stuff out, and it just becomes a kind of an iterative process until I found the right team. Sometimes, like today, the first try works, but sometimes I have to keep switching out until it works. So yeah, that's kind of how you go about it.
That's a good way to explain it. And one thing before, because you said if it works or doesn't work, how do you decide, and how long does it take to you to decide that this works or this doesn't work?
That's a pretty difficult thing about team building. I feel like a difficult question to answer as well. I think knowing your win conditions is a big part of that. If I lose games with the team because of my own faults, then it's clearly not a team issue. But if I keep losing games because of team comp, because I just have no win conditions, then I know it's a team issue. Let's say I win a lead, for example, and I still lose the game, then there might be some team comp issues, or I might have just played it wrong. And I think like seeing the difference in that, if it's a team comp issue or a play issue, is the biggest factor, and that's something that really comes with experience, I think. But that's how I usually decide it. If I keep losing because of team comp, I know it's a team issue for sure, and something needs to be changed.
Yeah, that's a real good point to put it, because many people, try new teams and throw them together like this constantly, and then they move on. So it's guys, and I think he put it a really good way how you should decide if you can, see your own mistakes. But that's why I think last time when you were on the podcast, you actually mentioned that the best way to actually learn is recording your own battles and then review it, and
Exactly.
then see what you did wrong. Yeah, see.
Exactly, and that's how you can really see if you record your battles and watch them back. You can clearly see where you went wrong most of the time, way clearer than if you were just doing the battles and thinking about it afterwards. I think that's what you see a lot of streamers do, especially the really good battlers. After the match, they always go through in their mind, and they speak it out about what they could have done better. But they're so good, they're so experienced, they can do that. But I think most, especially newer battlers, they don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge yet to do that. And to those, I do really recommend to record your battles so they can look them back, go over them, put it in slow motion even, and go through every step, see where you could have farmed a little bit more energy, see where you could have maybe not have to use a shield, and go through the battle like that. That really helps.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, because I can only do that, like, honestly, with my team heavy damage, basically, because I know all the matchups in Ultra and it's easy to learn them. Well, now because I played with so
Yeah,
many times. But when I have a different team or try a brand new Pokemon that I never used before, and I don't even know the matchups, then I have no idea like why I went wrong. And even if I rewatch it, I surprise myself. Oh, okay, now I get it. But yeah, it's hard to
exactly.
do. So I'm glad that you explained it.
If you record it, you can also take some time to sim the matchup while you're watching your battles. So, like, especially if you're using a new team, that's very important. The simming, if you don't know a certain matchup, yeah, you might want to look it up on PvPoke if you're going through your battle later, and that can really help you decide what to do in that same matchup when you come into it in the future again.
Perfect. And since you mentioned PvPoke, so I use it all the time during a stream. And now let's get it a little technical, starting to get a little technical here, guys. So make sure you pay attention and take notes. But I usually use it all the time. And then now, I believe we've been having this season mostly, but these delayed CMP ties, just because, I guess because they try to balance it to make sure that the CMP actually like syncs, I assume. That's why we have it, or maybe it looks like that glitch that lets
Yeah,
a Politoed won against a Gengar in a CMP tie. And even though it wasn't, it just got the mud shot sooner by the Shadow Club.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you will
exactly.
explain. But the question that I have is for people especially who've been going crazy on Twitter about these losing CMP ties. How would you like try to help them explain to see which is like a real CMP and which it isn't? Should it be through PvPoke, or it's like hard to explain, or like is there like a is it kind of make sense what I'm trying to ask?
I know what you're trying to say.
Okay.
I know what you're trying to say. There's currently is a bug in the game where usually a CMP tie happens when both Pokemon initiate their charge move on the same turn. So let's say you have Azumarill versus Azumarill. It's an easy one. Let's say my Azumarill has the highest attack possible. My opponent's Azumarill has the lowest attack possible. My Azumarill always wins CMP versus the opposing Azumarill. So if we start from in the lead, my Azumarill versus his Azumarill, I throw 4-5 bubbles and throw a move. He also throws 5 bubbles, throws a move. I win the CMP tie. Now let's say his Azumarill starts 1 turn earlier. If he throws his Ice Beam after 5 bubbles, and I throw my Ice Beam after 5 bubbles, he will be earlier because my Azumarill is 1 turn behind. But there is a bug in the game currently where if you are 1 turn behind and you press your Ice Beam, like on the final turn, that's basically when your opponent throws their move as well. Sometimes it will like hook your charge move onto their charge move, initiating what we like to call a fake CMP tie. Usually what will happen if it's a fake CMP tie, your opponent will throw their move and then the camera will pan out as if you can fast attack again, but then it will pan back into the charge move animation. It has like a different style of beginning of the charge move animation. Basically, usually you also see your charge move buttons pop up again, which doesn't happen in the actual CMP tie. But that's basically what happens. That can happen when you're 1 turn behind in a mirror, but that can also happen if you have like different length fast moves versus each other. So like an Azumarill versus a Gengar, for example. Gengar is supposed to win CMP, but if Gengar throws at like the what is it, the eighth, no, yeah, the 8th Shadow Claw, that's on turn 16. That's exactly when Azu throws the Ice Beam, because Azu 5 bubbles is that's 15 turns, so it throws the Ice Beam 1 turn later on turn 16. 8 Shadow Claw is also 16 turns, so the Shadow Ball is supposed to go off on turn 17. If the Gengar throws his move right there is a possibility that the Shadow Ball will hook onto the Ice Beam and initiate a fake CMP tie, not giving you more opportunity to farm, basically.
But that's not supposed to happen
it's
in
not
general.
No, yeah. It's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. It's just a bug that's currently in the game, and you can kind of avoid it by timing your moves appropriately. I think if you are the Gengar in that situation, you should just never throw your move on that particular turn, because you risk that happening. And also, like, you don't really want to throw there because you can't farm more in that case, and Azu is dry after that. But it is tough sometimes. You can't always keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's especially tough when shields are done and then it's the last Pokemon facing each other, and then you were just up to hope. I guess at that point, depending on what are the energy advantages, or if there's any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And as far as for but since we're talking about all this, so how would you, let's say, Gengar? Well, that's a bad example. Gengar against Confusion users, because that's a rough matchup. But
It's very rough.
how would you do? Let's say if you're facing, let's say, a Charmer or a Confusion user, like Armor Mewtwo, I use all the time, and I love sneaking in an extra Confusion against the Giratina because it allows me to throw double Side Strike into them. But I'm rarely able to do it. So the question that I have to you is there something, a tactic that you could use to able to add on an extra fast move before the opponent throws or when it throws, so you're able to get that advantage?
There's not really a 100% tactic. There really isn't. There's a lot of theories on this. No one knows for sure. As far as I've experienced, it just has a lot to do with your connection. To be honest, a lot to do with your connection with your phone and your connection to the GBL servers. Most of the time, the servers are based in NA. So if you're in NA, you have a bigger chance to sneak in fast moves, as far as I've experienced. But what you can do to increase your odds a little bit, and this counts for everyone, is usually if you just keep confusioning until they throw a move, don't throw your move until they've thrown their move. You might have a bigger chance to sneak in your confusion. But if the Giratina just throws in the middle of your confusion, you won't get it at all. And if you're the Giratina player, you should always try to throw in the middle of a confusion instead of at the end, because then you risk them getting in an extra confusion.
That's a really good point. So you technically just hit two birds with one stone, because you also explained kind of how to deny the fast move. So
yes.
So basically, denying a fast move, you would recommend to try to wait for the middle of the animation of the opponent, right?
Exactly. If you're a Giratina versus a Mewtwo, you don't wanna throw after 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 Shadow Claws, because as I said before, a charge move, initiating a charge move takes 1 turn. So if you throw your Dragon Claw, let's say after 6 Shadow Claws, 6 Shadow Claws, that's 12 turns, because 6 times 2 is 12. Then you initiate your charge move on turn 13. But what should happen is, if the game, this is how the game has always worked. Now it's kind of inconsistent because of the fast move deny and stuff. But what always happened is confusion is 4 turn move. So 3 confusion is 12 turns. So on turn 13, the 4th confusion should initiate. So if you're the Giratina and you also initiate your Dragon Claw on turn 13, you allow the Mewtwo to get in a full free confusion, because you initiate the charge move and the confusion at the same time. So instead, you want to throw the move on the 7th Dragon Claw, that's turn 14, or that's after 7 Dragon Claws, turn 14. So you initiate charge move 1 turn later, turn 15. That's 1 turn before the 4th confusion ends, because the 4th confusion ends at turn 16, and you're throwing your charge move on turn 15. If that makes sense. So basically, in that case, instead of giving your opponent a full free confusion, you give him like 1 free turn.
And you guys thought that Pokemon Go Battle League is just tapping on your phone.
It is. There's a lot to it. If you really,
yeah.
if you really dive deep into it, there is definitely a lot more to it, and that is what I really love. I think Pokemon Go is such a simple game on the surface, but you can really dive deep into it and get really technical with it, and that's what I really like.
Yeah, it's I actually wanted to ask you this question before we go back to this. And guys, hope you understood all of it. You might have to listen to it again. That's fine. I will listen to this again once we finished, because I want to make sure I understood everything that he said and break it down and understand better, so I can get better with my matchups. But what I want to ask you is, well, 2 things actually I wanted to ask you. Is one, because of the latency, since you just brought it up with the NA servers and everything, do you think that latency might also have to do with the fake CMP? Because you want to time the things right, but what if you think?
Yeah, so? I think it might. I think it might definitely have to do. But again, that's all kind of theory. No one knows for sure. No one can know for sure. But yeah, it might have something to do with it. But even if it had something to do with it, there's really not much we can do about it. So we gotta live with it, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And then let's bring up a little bit the and I can't say this word, but you helped me earlier. Residential energy.
Residual energy.
Residual. Okay, I can't say it. To
or
save
leftover energy, you could also call it.
What say that again?
Leftover energy.
Yeah, leftover energy. There we go. Way better. Now let's talk about that, because sorry. Now I got it. I almost forgot. I have to ask you this, because you play chess. So the question that I have: would you compare Pokemon Go Battle League to somewhat to playing chess?
Well, I don't. I play a little bit of chess. Not that much anymore. I actually haven't played in a couple of weeks, but I had a month where I played quite a bit, but I wouldn't really say I play much chess, but I do enjoy. Do I compare it to Go Battle League? I don't know. It's way different. Both have decision making, but chess is, I think, in the end, there's more decisions to make in chess than in Go Battle League, which makes it more complex strategically, but it doesn't have the real-time aspect Pokemon Go has. So they're both very different, of course.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, cool. I just want to hear from you about that as well. So now, to getting back to it. So as far as for the leftover energy, so how should people know about it? Can even people know about that if they don't count moves? And if they don't count moves, how could they actually play these matches out, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean that's tough. When we talk about residual energy, of course, talking about when your opponent throws a charge move after a certain amount of fast moves, how much energy do they have left? For example, in the Hypno, for example, gets to the first punch, elemental punch, which is 40 energy in 4 confusions, because each confusion gives 12 energy. So after 3 confusions, they're 36. That's not enough for the punch yet. After 4, they're at 48. They have enough for the punch. If they throw the punch, minus 40 energy, they're left with 48 minus 40. That's 8 energy. Because they have 8 energy left over there, they get to the next punch in 3 confusions, because 3 confusions again is 36 energy plus 8. They have 44 energy, enough for another punch. And they're left with 4 energy once again, which means that the third punch is also only 3 confusions, because again 3 confusions, 36 energy plus 4, 40 energy, enough for the third punch, and they're left with 0 exactly. The cycle starts again with 4 confusions for the next punch. And that is really something like you have to know, you have to learn. I think everyone should start off, if you're currently not counting yet, you should definitely consider counting. Even if you don't always want to count, learn some of the basic counts and count them. And after that, I think at some point it just becomes second nature. Honestly, if you play the matches enough, but I think counting moves is definitely a big step to learning that.
Okay, that's a very good point that you pointed out. So Hypno is technically, if you want to remember it fast, is 4-3-3 and then starts over.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then, what is there anything else, the famous Pokemons that most people use and we should probably know about, like Swampert, who
Yes, Swampert gets to the first Earthquake in 8 mud shots, and the second in 7, and then it's 8 again. And like Wishcash gets to the first Mud Bomb in 5, and then it's 4. A bomb of snow gets to the first Weather Ball in 4, and then it's in 5, and then it's 4 again. So yeah, there's a lot of them.
yeah, so you recommend counting for someone who would like to play competitively, right?
Yes, definitely. I think counting is probably, if you're not doing it already, it's definitely the biggest improvement you can make to your gameplay.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I just wanted to hear from you because so many people, say that they might do it by just like knowing or feeling. So which again is almost like, in so many sports and in business in so many ways, when people say that, yeah, I don't really know, the actual amount of, let's say, what's our revenue or what's our expenses, but I know we're all right, or I feel it's good, which usually never works out. So to be exact,
yeah, I think that can get you very, very far. But if you really wanna be the best, I think you gotta count. I definitely think you gotta count. And I also want to point out there are different ways of counting. You can count the fast moves, of which I like to do. I like to count the fast moves, and I just know the counts for different moves. And what I'm currently kind of learning is counting the energy instead. I think counting the energy might even be better. Instead of counting 1 confusion, 2 confusions, 3 confusions, I think it's probably better to count 12 energy, 24 energy, 36 energy, 48 energy, oh, a punch, 8 energy, oh, another confusion, 12 energy. I think that's probably even better, but you can also count seconds. I know a really good friend of mine, the Nut93, he counts seconds. He used to be a drum player, I think, so he has it all in his head, the rhythm. I personally can't. I have no feeling for rhythm, so that's not for me. But he counts seconds, and that really works out for him. I think he is one of the best like energy counters in the game. He's always on point with it. So that's if you think you prefer that, it's also another strategy you could try out.
Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty cool that he counts the rhythms. That I can't believe that he is doing that. And
yeah,
then
I think that's very impressive.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then how about well, in your case, I mean, were you good in math in school and physics?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much the only thing I was good at. That was math. I've always really enjoyed math, and I was pretty good at this.
Yeah, see, I figured. I was waiting for that, so that's why I wanted to ask you. Same with Lyndon. Lyndon, I believe, counts numbers as well, and not the actual moves. And Lyndon, he's all about numbers, so he's a numbers guy. So it makes perfect sense. the both of you basically doing that. And then
And
now,
Linden is
go ahead.
always on point as well.
Yeah, it's see guys, it's literally the numbers work, they don't lie. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, I'm very happy to hear that. And then now that you mentioned all these different options, I already know mine, but there's no way I'm gonna do the beats like there's no way. I have no rhythm either. But as far as for when you build a team, should you consider these things like that? You know that all right, I'm gonna get to, let's say, the Hypno, the 4-3-3, or Wishcash with the 4-3, and then would you consider building a team like that, to know that you get these energy advantages in the overall field of Go Battle League, or you don't even think about that when you build a team?
Well, when you build a team, you think about the matchups that your Pokemon win. Not only mostly on neutral energy, on like starting from zero against certain opponents, but also around with energy advantage, you know? And that's where it mainly comes in, I guess. And you know, those Pokemon that benefit from having some extra energy, yeah, of course you take that into account. But I don't think you would really uh, I don't think having a Pokemon that gets to their charge move in like what would you call it, like a uneven rhythm right, that have a big advantage. Though it is definitely something to think about now that you say it. I guess playing around an Azumarill that gets to his ice beams every 5 bubbles is easier to recognize than a Hypno that gets to his punches at an uneven rate. Could give you an advantage, yes.
Because it just made, since we talked about math, I was just thinking that what if we take this team building into a whole other level, and then instead of picking the Pokemon, you bring out your math book, and then you start writing down fast moves, energy, and charge moves, and all that, and add all it up by numbers, and then you build the team by numbers, and then you put in the Pokemon later. Does that kind of make sense?
Make a whole formula out of it.
Yeah, because
I like that.
it's almost like Moneyball, the movie with Brad Pitt. I don't know if you've seen it,
I
or
haven't. No, I
it's
haven't.
he built a team on numbers, baseball team on numbers, and they almost were to championships. But so the same idea. I was thinking, what if you, and if anybody, it's probably you or Lyndon who can do this. But what if you build a team based on the numbers, and maybe that team outperforms the other one just because? But then you would also have to play with the numbers, because during
Yeah.
I would assume you would have to swap on point so you can benefit from that the leftover energy, and then move things around during the battle. So it's a whole different playstyle, I guess.
Well, I think in the end, I think we are all already playing around with the numbers, right?
Oh, for sure.
So, but it is worth it, I guess. You could, by playing around with the numbers, just getting the best moves together. That could definitely be a strategy. I think now that you talk about numbers and residual energy and the best moves, I think one thing that is important to keep in mind when team building is having a variety of different moves. For example, you don't want to have a team of like 3 mud shoulders, for example, because then you can't farm anything down, or a team with like a lock-on user, a mud shield user, and a cycle cut user. You can't farm anything down. So having a variety of moves like a confusion user to farm things down is very, very big. And I guess that could definitely help.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then as far as for the new Pokemons that and new move sets possibly coming out, do you have anything in mind that you might look forward to? I know it's a little early because, but I mean, we're gonna have lots of new ones. But is there anything that you could think of that might be worth your time and you're definitely gonna invest?
AG Slash. I mean, it's not even a question. AG Slash is gonna be a absolute a monster. I think we already know. But also like Trevenant is gonna be quite interesting. It's a grass ghost type, though I think it currently has like Razor Leaf as its best move, which I don't really like. But if it gets different moves, like grass ghost seems like a pretty good typing.
Yeah, the first one that you said, which I also can say its name, is the Steel Ghost type, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a sword.
Yep.
It's like, or I think it's gonna be shield form in Pokemon Go. That would make sense because I think that's its base form, and with those stats, it's insane. And Steel Ghost typing is like a crazy defensive typing because it's a steel that takes not very effective damage from fighting types. and it also beats Bastiodon. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm gonna be excited for that as well. And as far as for Pokemon that, let's say, new players, to go back to the technical side for a little bit, when new players start out, is there a Pokemon that they should stay away from because it's hard to maneuver if you don't know these fast move denials, and you might lose out on fast moves, or you might, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I think moves like Incinerate, 5-turn moves, or 4-turn moves like Confusion and Volt Switch are the hardest to navigate. Because it's very easy to mistime your moves. Timing your own fast moves is pretty big, because let's say you are a Confusion user and you're facing an Azumarill with a 3-turn move. If you throw your, let's say you have some energy already, they throw a move, you shield, and then you have to time your own fast move or your own charge move appropriately. Because if you're a Volt Switch user and you throw your move after one Volt Switch, you throw your charge move on turn 4 or turn 5, which gives the opponent pretty much half of a free bubble, which is not great. If you're a Volt Switch user versus a bubble user, you gotta throw after 2 Volt Switches, because then you throw your charge move exactly on turn 9, because 2 Volt Switches 8 turns, 1 turn because charge move activation takes 1 turn. That's turn 9. 3 bubbles, exactly 9 turns. That's perfect timing for your move. But if you don't do that, you risk them getting in a full free bubble, which is pretty devastating in the grand scheme of things. The same with 5-turn moves, but it's even more devastating, to be honest, especially versus like Confusion user. If you throw a 1 Incinerate and then your move, they get like half of a free Confusion in, which is quite bad.
Yeah, that's like a game right there, especially with the Incinerate Confusion. That's
Yeah,
huge.
exactly.
Yeah. And Volt Switch, oh my god! And that's why so many people get frustrated when they face now the Talonflames in Open Ultra all the time, because if you mess it up, that might be game over right there.
Exactly. And it's just as easy for the Talonflame to mess it up as it is for the opponent of the Talonflame to mess it up. I think like a well-played Talonflame or a well-played Alolan Raichu is like 10 times better than a badly played one. And so as a beginner, I would stay away from this Pokemon. And as soon as you get more comfortable at when to throw your own charge moves, definitely look into Volt Switch users, Confusion users, Incinerate users, because the moves are very strong. They're just very difficult to handle sometimes.
Yeah, when Talonflame came out, it was rough a little bit with the Incinerate, because you had to learn basically what you just explained at first, when to do it and how to do it. So I was struggling with it for I think the first 2 days. I was facing them constantly. So it took me a little while until I figured it out. All right, this is how you do it, because I was giving away free energy left and right.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough, especially since you want to get those flame charges off like immediately. But throwing immediately is not always the best when you consider giving your opponent free fast moves. So it is tough.
That's exactly right. And then so that's perfect. So guys, now you heard Volt Switch user, Incinerate users, Confusion. The 4-5 move sets are rough at first, so definitely take some practice. And then as far as when those players facing those opponents one last time, what would you recommend to them to try to avoid those things? What you just mentioned, like, is there like a tactic that you could give like a beginner or something like that?
You always gotta avoid throwing your charge move on the same turn as they can initiate their fast move, if that makes sense. If you have if you have a Mudshot user versus a Volt Switch user, you never want to throw at an even amount of fast moves, because every 2 Mudshots, you're gonna be in sync with the Volt Switch. And if you throw your fast move or your charge move right there, they're gonna get another free Volt Switch in most of the time. The game is currently kind of inconsistent, so sometimes you'll deny a full one, but a lot of the time you'll get a free full one. So you'd rather throw at an uneven amount at 2 or 6 or no, that's not uneven. No, 1 or 3 or 5 mud shots, because then you just give him half a free Volt Switch, which is way better than a full free one, of course. And the same for like 3-turn moves. You want to throw after 1 move, ideally, because then you throw on the 4th turn. But it's really is a lot to explain. I think I think FP Sticks has a really great video on that, which I can definitely recommend. I think it's like his video about fast move timing. I will definitely if you look up that, because it's just a great tutorial on it. But try to throw your moves like at the end of their animation. That's the main thing I can say.
Good point. Okay, perfect. We definitely link in everything. And then as far as for, I mean, thank you for explaining all of this, because I think you have shared a lot that people can now go on and get better at, or stay away from. But
I hope it helps.
It definitely helps. I mean, it already helped me a lot. So I cannot wait to rewatch
Good.
this and then readjust my tactics after what you told me today. And then as far as for esports, so I know, of course, there's lots of issues and everything. We are definitely getting closer, even though it feels like we are not. But sometimes. But the question that I have for you, and I asked you this, and I think it was like, when was this? Like 6 months ago when you were on the podcast? I think so, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think it was longer ago. I don't think I was streaming. I've almost been streaming for a year now. I've been streaming for 11 months now.
Uh-huh.
And I think you asked me when I was only streaming for a month. So it might have even been like 10 months ago. I don't know.
It could have been. It could have been. Caleb Peng was at like the almost 1 year ago when we were just on the podcast. So it could have been, because you were, I think, just a few weeks after Caleb Peng. So that could have been very well, yeah. So now the question. Then when you were there, the last time we talked about esports, and that time esports was like, just nothing. Like, we were looking up esports, maybe, something, we hope that's what it had. But now we have a little bit more than just hope. It's basically they are actually saying that yes, we are working on that. But now, what do you think? When is it going to happen? And this is just hypothetical. I mean, we obviously don't know. But in your opinion, when would it happen? How would it possibly look like? And will you participate in it?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be a while. I feel like, especially, I think if it happens, the first tournament is going to be in person. It's going to be probably another invitational type tournament, like what we had at the Pokemon World Championships a couple years back, where King and Poke AK got invited. And I am personally very excited for that. I think the game has so much potential, though, of course, the current inconsistencies have to go first. That's the first thing that has to go. If the game is consistent, if we don't have lag every match, I think this game has so much potential, especially, I think, after what we saw, the 30-second switch timer. That made the game so... personally, I'm a big fan of the 30-second switch timer, not only for my own gameplay. I really loved it for my own gameplay, but I think as a spectator, the 30-second switch timer was so much fun to watch, like way more than the 60-second. I think I still enjoy the games with 60-second, but I think if I was not into Pogo, I would enjoy it way less than the 30-second one. And I think that might be the future. I think this might have been a test, and I hope they might adjust the timer a little bit, make it a little lower. And I think we'll have a very fun esport to play, but also to watch, which is important in my opinion.
Oh my God, the 30-second, think about this for a second. It's Pokemon Go is already like a high-paced game that you enjoy watching, and it goes quick, like matches go like this, And then now with the 30-second, you see way more action. I mean, you exactly see double the action because as before. Because definitely. I mean, think about it. I hate that matchup when I face, let's say, Armor Mewtwo is in, and then Cresselia comes in, and you are like, dang it. It's gonna be that 60-second. Yeah. Right. Exactly. There. So it's horrible. But with the 30-second, you swap it up right off the bat, and you have energy advantage. All that, it's awesome. So I loved the 30-second. I'm with you on that. And then as a spectator, I guarantee you it's going to be way more enjoyable watching it. And even as, what do you call it, casters, like let's say Zionic, if it's casting, let's say the tournament, where you get invited and you're facing King in the finals. You know what I mean? It would be so much more fun because he would be yelling every 30 seconds.
Definitely.
So you pull something.
Dude, I noticed it when I was streaming. Usually in a current 60-second timer, I am talking all the time to chat. I like I'll switch something in. I'm switch locked. I know this matchup from the back of my hand. I can just not even pay attention. I'm talking to chat while I'm playing out this matchup. But with the 30-second timer, I couldn't. You're constantly focused on your energy management, constantly focused on maybe he's gonna swap. It makes the game so much more exciting, which is so good. And also, you don't have these half an hour Azumarill mirror matches, which you have to try to talk over to make it somehow exciting, which it really isn't until a swap happens, of course, which is way more often in a 30-second timer.
Exactly, and then not only that, but the timing of the charge moves were way harder as well because swap
Definitely.
is coming, and the swap is coming at any time, so you have to time it just perfectly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then as far as I want to ask about this because you are obviously big in PvP and in Pokemon as well. So when Pokemon Unite would come out, would you participate in that?
I am definitely gonna try it out. Looks very, very fun. I have never played what's it called, a MOBA game?
Yeah, League of Legends.
Yeah, I've never played League of Legends. I've never played Dota. No games like that, but it's definitely something I've been wanting to try out. So I'm gonna try out Pokemon Unite for sure, and we're gonna see. If it's fun or not. I'm not sure if I'll enjoy it yet. I'm very much a gamer that plays like one game at a time. I'm very invested in Pogo right now, and I play some games on the side with friends, but I can really only get invested in one game usually. So I will try out some Pokemon Unite, but I'll see if it sticks or not.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I'm totally with you on that. That one game at a time. Yeah, and then that's how you obviously so good at it and so knowledgeable about it because you invest your time and energy in it instead of like trying all these other games and then your mindset is on the other game. And
I
then
try to, yeah.
this game, yeah. Okay, and as for before we wrap this up, is there anything you would like to share or anything you want to bring up? Maybe we left out something, or anything whatsoever.
Um, no, I think we did get through anything. I think I talked about the FP Sticks video earlier. I will definitely, if you're more interested in the fast move timing and stuff, I would definitely recommend FP6 video on that. I think you can learn a lot from his podcast, but he also brings up some visual examples. So if you're more interested, definitely check out his video because it's very instructive. I wanted to make a video about it first, like myself, but then I saw his and it was just so good. Like I don't even need to anymore. But yeah, besides that, I think we've gone over everything. And
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And I know that I'm gonna watch this back, replay it, and make tons of notes. I have a notebook just for Go Battle League, by the way, so I cannot wait to make some notes and take this to action. So thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate you having me here. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully, the information is useful for everyone.
Oh, for sure. And then one last thing: when do you usually stream, and what time zone, and what days?
I usually stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 7 p.m. European time. That's around noon Central time for all you Americans. And usually I also stream on Wednesday when I feel like it, or in the weekends when I feel like it, but that's usually a random times.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I will definitely link all the information into the podcast and in the footnotes below. If you're watching or listening, it will be down in the footnotes.
Appreciate
so, guys, again, and thank you so much for coming out on the podcast.
Yeah, no worries. See ya.